From the 11% back in 2010, the underlying deficit now falls to 6.8% this year. Instead of the 7.5% they were forecasting back in March, it then falls to 5.6% next year, then 4.4%, 2.7%, and in 2017-18, 1.2%. And by 2018-19 on this measure, the OBR do not expect a deficit at all. Instead, they expect Britain to run a small surplus. We will cap overall welfare spending. Welfare budgets were completely out of control when we came to office, and the number of households where no one had ever worked nearly doubled. We've taken very difficult decisions to bring benefit bills down. We have saved £19 billion a year for the taxpayer. We need to maintain that discipline. Tight discipline means that most departments are now living well within their set budgets. This year they are expected to underspend by £7 billion, a testament to good financial management. We can therefore be confident in reducing the contingency reserve by £1 billion this year and reducing departmental budgets by a similar amount in the next 2 years. This will save a further £3 billion in total. The protections for the NHS and schools will apply. The security and intelligence services and HMRC will be exempt. The Barnett formula means that over the next 2 years, the budgets for Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales will see a net increase, and we will also not apply these additional savings to local government because we expect them to freeze the council tax next year. To reflect our society's debt of gratitude to our servicemen and women and their families, I want to make a further £100 million of LIBOR fines available to our brilliant military charities. And I also today want to extend that support to those who care for the work of our police, fire and ambulance services. I think the whole House would agree that the terrible events in Glasgow this weekend, and indeed the work they're doing right now to cope with the adverse weather, remind us how much we owe to them. We think a fair principle is that, as now, people should expect to spend up to a third of their adult life in retirement. Based on the latest life expectancy figures, applying that principle would mean an increase in the state pension age to 68 in the mid-2030s and to 69 in the late 2040s. The exact dates will be set by the future statutory reviews and in line with the most up-to-date demographic data, of which the next update is published next week. We're going to tackle the growth of intermediaries disguising employment as false self-employment, depriving workforces of basic employment rights like the minimum wage in a bid to avoid employer national insurance. We'll halve the final period exemption for capital gains tax private residence relief. We'll end the abuse of dual contracts, offshore oil and gas contracting, derivatives linked to profits and share buybacks. And we will ensure the tax advantages of partnerships aren't abused either. We are introducing a new limited power that requires people to pay up front their taxes where the scheme they used has already been struck down by the courts. And we're going to strengthen Whitehall's capacity to prevent error and tackle fraud in the benefit and tax credit systems and expand their efforts to recover money that is owed. But it's not right that those who live in this country pay capital gains tax when they sell a home that is not their primary residence, while those who don't live here do not. That is unfair. And so from April 2015, we will introduce capital gains tax on future gains made by non-residents who sell residential property here in the UK. I can also announce from January the 1st next year, the rate of the bank levy will rise to 0.156% and its base will be broadened in ways we have consulted upon. The levy will raise £2.7 billion in 2014-15 and £2.9 billion each year from 2015-16. This week we are announcing £1 billion of loans to unblock large housing developments on sites in Manchester and Leeds and across the country. We're going to increase the housing revenue account borrowing limit by £300 million. Aspiration isn't only for people who can afford their own home. We want to regenerate some of our most run-down urban estates. Councils will sell off the most expensive social housing so they can house many more families for the same money. And we're going to give working people in social housing a priority right to move if they need to for a job. Right to buy applications have doubled under this government, and we'll expand it more. And the very same spirit of aspiration that underpins right to buy is what drives this government with help to buy. It's not enough to build more houses if families who can afford mortgages don't have the large deposits that the banks have demanded. Help to Buy is now helping thousands to own their own home, and I can today announce that Aldermore and Virgin, two challenger banks, expect to join the scheme this month. Children do better at school when they have a proper meal inside them. This autumn statement has found the financial resources to fund the expansion of free school meals to all school children in reception Year 1 and Year 2, announced by the Deputy Prime Minister and supported by me. Without basic maths or English, there is a limited chance that any young person will be able to stay off welfare, so we are taking a new approach, starting in some areas at first. Anyone aged 18 to 21 signing on without these basic skills will be required to undertake training from day one or lose their benefits. If they are still unemployed after 6 months, they will have to start a traineeship, take work experience or do a community work placement, and if they don't turn up, they will lose their benefits. I can tell the House there will now be an additional 20,000 higher apprenticeships over the next 2 years, and I can also announce a big expansion of start-up loans through which a new generation of entrepreneurs is being created. 50,000 more people will be helped to fulfil their aspiration to start their own business. And we're extending the new enterprise allowance too. That next year we will provide 30,000 more student places, and the year after we will abolish the cap on student numbers altogether. Extra funding will be provided to science, technology and engineering courses. The new loans will be financed by selling the old student loan book, allowing thousands more to achieve their potential. All businesses are expecting rates to rise by 3.2% next year. Instead, I will cap the inflation increase in business rates for all premises at 2% from next April. To get the vacant shops that blight too many town centres to open again, I am introducing a new reoccupation relief that will halve the rates for new occupants. But for the next 2 years, every retail premise in England with a rateable value of up to £50,000 will get a discount on their business rates. This discount will be worth £1,000 off their bills. From April 2015, we will introduce a new transferable tax allowance for married couples. Available to all basic rate taxpayers, it enables people to transfer £1,000 of their personal allowance to their wife, husband or civil partner. It is just a start, and I confirm today that we will introduce a new up-rating mechanism that ensures the new married couple's tax allowance is automatically increased in proportion to the personal allowance. Next year's fuel duty rise will be cancelled. Instead of petrol taxes going up by 2p a litre, they will stay frozen. That means, compared to the previous government's plans, petrol will be 20p a litre less, and we're helping those who get the train too. For fares next January, we're going to go up by 1% above inflation. We are going to keep average fares flat in real terms. We are going to abolish the jobs tax on young people under the age of 21. Employer national insurance contributions will be removed altogether on 1.5 million jobs for young people. We are not going to leave young people behind as the economy grows. We are going to have a responsible recovery for all. Britain's moving again. Let's keep going.